And hello again, welcome to another sales video from Dutch Tents UK. Hi, I'm Dave Lane. We may have met before on YouTube or on these videos. So today I'm going to tell a story of a tale of two ESVOs. They're both pretty much the same model, but one is a 4 and one is a 6. The 4 berth is the one the more distant, and the 6 is the one in the foreground. I'm afraid the 4 berth is already sold, but the 6 berth is for sale and the price will be detailed with this advert. So before we go into the 6, I just thought, because I had them both up, I just thought it would be interesting to do a bit of a comparative video to show a 6 and a 4. I mean, the first thing to notice is the width, the front of the 6 berth in comparison to the width at the front of the 4. It's a lot wider on the 6, as you would imagine. The 4 berth tent is 3 meters deep and no, it's not, it's 3 meters wide and 3.5 deep, whereas the big 6 there is 4 meters wide, 4 meters deep. The awnings on both though are pretty much the same depth, 1.5 there, 1.5 here. On the 4 berth, the awning is sewn in, is attached to the tent, and on the 6 it is a separate. So this tent is what I refer to as a flat fronter, i.e. typically it just has 3 poles, the main king pole, the 2 door poles, and then you would peg these down if you didn't have the awning. But the fact that you got the awning means that you don't have those ropes in the way. You can see what I've done with them. So to keep them out of the way, rather than peg them down, the line runs across over the pole and then down to the peg there. So the lines aren't in the way, so to all intents and purposes it's, you know, a fixed awning. Both tents are in really nice condition, but the 6 is that bit clean. Let's get a backside shot so you can kind of get the scale. There's the 4 and there's the 6. It's quite a bit bigger, it's taller, and it's certainly quite a bit wider. Okay, so moving on to the 6, because this is what the advert's mainly about. Canvas is in really good condition. I'll show you a couple of marks. The front, you've got that, which will brush off. I've found, oh, that is brushing off already. I mean, it's really clean. Odd bit of slight mud marks. But on the whole, the canvas on this tent is really clean. The tent is in really good condition, though it's not without defects that I'm going to come to in a minute. And the price of this tent is going to reflect those defects, which to my mind are pretty minor and are not worth fixing. So we're going to come on to that in a minute. As you can see, the tent is pitched very nicely. It's fitted out to the ground properly. Has a sewn in ground sheet. And I've done this type of crossover pitching because it's just a lot quicker and easier. But you get a really good idea that this is a big family tent. So at the front, got all sorts of options. We have a zip up, so we've got a vent screen there. This rolls back, you can see the tie cables there, and it's the same on the other side as well. Zip down for privacy, zip up for ventilation. Okay, so let's pop in and have a little look. So with the doors open, we go in and we are greeted with 2 sizable fitted hanging inner tents. These will take 3 air beds each. So let's have a little look inside one of those. So inside, the inner tent, notice the skirt around the bottom. So the ground sheet you're looking at is the ground sheet of the tent, which as you can see is fully attached. There isn't a ground sheet inside the inner tent. This is to keep the weight down and make it a lot easier, and frankly there's no need for a ground sheet when you've already got one. So these are very good. They're very thin material, but particularly good for keeping mosquitoes out. but ESVO tents at the front fully zip up, so they're pretty good for that anyway. But this will double down on that, and of course privacy. But you can appreciate in there 3 air beds quite comfortably. So this is a proper full grown up 6-berth tent. It's quite tall. Canvas on these, usual standard fare 10K 300, and it's all in good condition. See an odd little stain there, but really nothing much at all. Okay, now I mentioned a few moments ago there are a couple of defects with the tent, which I'm now going to show you. Have a look in the corner, ever so slightly ruffled, and in this corner, ever so slightly ruffled. So, what's all that about? I'm going to unpeg one of the corners. So you see at the bottom of the tent, there is the peg to hold the ground sheet down effectively. Now if I lift that, there should be a little tab on there which is broken off. And on another tent that may be a problem. On an ESVO it isn't, because what they do is they sew on these extra lugs. So if this was another tent, I would send off to ESVO and I would get one of those repair patches. I would cut a circular hole where the old one was, and I would stick the new one through and I would glue it from the inside, and it would make a good enough repair, but you'd see it from the inside. But to be honest with you, with these extra tabs that ESVOs have, I'll show you another one on this side, because actually, can you see here, the ground sheet lug is actually in place. So what you'd normally do is peg that down, but frankly, as you've seen, once you do that, you peg the ground sheet down properly. And it really isn't a problem. It means you get a slight crease in the corner, but the ground sheet isn't compromised. I've not cut a hole in it to put a new patch through. It's still fully intact, which I think is a better option. So there is a lug missing from this corner, and there's one missing from the same side at the rear. But again, it isn't really a problem at all. It doesn't affect the pitching of the tent. The tent can still be pitched properly and strongly and securely, just not 100% as intended at the factory. But like I said, with those extra tabs in place, it's really good. I don't know why the manufacturers don't do it, but it's typical of ESVO to be a bit smarter, do something like that. So there is one of the proper lugs, and there is another. So if I take that out and now put that in, you can see the tent is still properly pegged down at the ground sheet. So I just don't see a point in fixing this, because I don't think it needs it. I think this is absolutely perfectly fine. So, but, you know, to paraphrase Thomas, Forrest Gump, a defect is as a defect does. So that will be reflected in the price. So this will be cheaper than it might have otherwise been. But really what you are getting is a nice big 6-berth ESVO tent. Years of life left in it. Canvas, as I've said, in great condition. A few marks on there, on the awning there, but really nothing at all. You know, it's surprisingly clean. Lovely big 6-berth ESVO tent, and quite a bit cheaper than a DeWard. So have a little look at the advert if you're interested. Let me know. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for your time.